April 2012 at 7:30 p.m. in the Village Court, 3rd floor, Village Hall, Fredonia, New York, and public notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given to the news media and conspicuously posted in one or more designated public locations in accordance with Section 104 of the Open Meetings Law.
Whereas members of this board present has read the official minutes of the Board of Trustees regular meeting of April 9, 2012. Now therefore be resolved that this board approves the minutes as entered in official minutes, and be it further resolved that the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Passed. Reports.
No reports tonight.
Correspondence.
Correspondence dated April 3rd was received from Marcia Finley, business manager of the 1891 Opera House, requesting the use of Barker Common for the tent sale fundraiser Saturday, June 2nd, 2012, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Be it resolved that a request from Marcia Finley, business manager of the 1891 Opera House, to use Barker Common for a tent sale fundraiser to support the presentation of Bach and Beyond Rock Music Festival on Saturday, June 2nd, 2012, from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. is hereby approved, with stipulation that the group will be responsible for cleanup and subject to the direction of the police department.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Correspondence dated March 30th, 2012 was received from the Fredonia Fire Department Fund Drive Chairman Charles Ortolano, requesting permission to conduct the annual Fireman's Fund Drive throughout the village the weeks of May 26th and June 10th, 2012.
Be it resolved that the Fredonia Volunteer Fire Department is hereby granted permission to conduct a fund drive in the village the week of May 26, 2012, and the week of June 10, 2012. And be it further resolved that the above weeks are hereby declared annual Fireman's Fund Drive weeks, and the Mayor Keefe makes such proclamation.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Correspondence was received from the Secretary of the J.S. Lambert Hook and Ladder Hose Company to transfer the names of Scott Nichols and Nicholas Radar from the active roles to the honor roll.
Be it resolved that the names of Scott Nichols and Nicholas Radar are hereby transferred from the active roles to the honor rolls of the J.S. Lambert Hook and Ladder Company effective immediately.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Correspondence was received from the Secretary of the M.M. Fenner Hose Company to add the name of Dan Syracuse to the active roll.
Be it resolved that the name of Dan Syracuse, Orchard Street, Fredonia, is hereby added to the active rolls of the M.M. Fenner Hose Company effective immediately.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. Welcome, Dan. Welcome to the fire department.
A letter dated March 29, 2012 was received from the Chautauqua County Department of Planning acknowledging receipt of the village's zoning referral and review of proposed local law number 1 of 2012 to amend section 297 of the Village of Fredonia zoning law to include commercial electronic variable messaging signage in portions of the existing C2 district. Mr. Donald McCord, Senior Planner, noted in regards to the General Municipal Law 239M, intercommunity and county-wide considerations, in respect to this project, finds this to be of local option with regards to land use, compatibility, traffic safety, drainage, municipal facilities, environmental impact, community character, etc. And this action would have little or no effect on the county-wide or intercommunity effects. A further letter dated April 17, 2012 from the Chautauqua County Planning Board stating they have no objections to the removal of the site plan review and site plan review fee from the proposed local law.
Okay. Public hearing. This being the time and place for the public hearing on the proposed local law number 1 of 2012 entitled A Local Law Amending the Zoning Law of the Village of Fredonia relative to signage and to add a definition for sign area and to add provisions for the commercial electronic variable messaging signage, proof of publication shown. Mayor Keefe called the meeting to order. Public portion. Would anybody like to speak? Yes, sir.
I had given, I think the board had got a letter from me previously of we'd like to be considered to come down our portion of the Fredonia in the M1 district, light industry, for the signage. We I've gone door to door to the residents to see how it would affect them. And from who I've been able to contact, we're all supportive of us. I have about 20 signed letters in my hand of the local people that are supportive of us doing business within the guidelines of the village. We're now looking to change much of our signage, just upgrade our mobile sign as it exists now with the times.
Now, do you have copies of
Oh, yeah.
those letters with you?
Copies
Would
of
you
them.
give those to Rick?
And I think we have a letter from me and a little.
Right,
And a picture, yeah.
right. Yeah, we did receive your letter. What we're voting on tonight is a stage one of electronic signage, and there is a designated area that we're looking at right now for tonight. What I would recommend is the same thing that I recommended to Mr. Civiletto, is that you go to the planning board and request that they review your area for future plans. And
Now, if it's passed for Mr. Silvaletto, is it, will it permit us from doing it down the line, down further into Fredonia in our M1 district? If you're saying I just don't want it worded that it's just for that area with the open-minded of maybe expanding upon it.
right, well, what we're looking at right now is a specific area. What happened is Mr. Civiletto came to us over a year ago
Yes,
and said that he would like to put signage up. And there's been a process.
I know that.
Okay, and the signage process is still ongoing. We're still reviewing our whole signage code. So, it's not bad timing that you're coming right now asking. But what we're voting on tonight would be, the specific location, which would cover Route 60 up to the intersection of 60 and 20 in a specific area. To expand that area would be a different, amendment to the zoning ordinance. And that's why I'd recommend that you make an appointment and talk with the planning board and tell them what your concerns are. And, it would be a whole new process starting from there. Okay?
We're just adding to the signage we have current. We're not changing
Right.
any dimensions of the sign.
Right. And that's why I would talk to the zoning, or the planning board, and see if that meets their criteria.
I think that you've done a good job of doing once of the legwork ahead of time. It's good to know what the individuals who live around that area think about the project in mind ahead of time. It's so helpful. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we just want to be part of the new ordinance. That's what we're looking for.
Right. And like I say, I mean, they've put a lot of work into the ordinance as it is right now.
Okay.
And to expand that ordinance would be, another degree of research. And, right now we're looking at voting on one, and then, the future planning for the zoning of signs in the village would go through the planning board as a further review.
Very good.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the public hearing? Anyone else?
This is just on the signage.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Anyone else? Okay, at this point, I'd like to close the public hearing and open up to public portion of the meeting. Now, Sue. And please, give your name and address.
Okay, my name is Susan Parker, and I live at 82 Newton Street in Fredonia. I had sent the Board of Trustees and Mayor Keefe a letter about a group of citizens who are concerned about the pedestrian safety in Fredonia. And we were concerned about, recently there were two pedestrian accidents, and one person in particular was severely injured and is still coping with his injuries. And we would like to see the creation of a task force that would hopefully incorporate perhaps citizens, members of pertinent village organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, a representative from the street department, trustee, and the police liaison, and possibly, as I said, some citizens from our group.
Right.
Because we could give you a number of examples. All of us have, tried to cross the street in Fredonia, and Fredonia is a wonderful place. but we're really concerned that it's very difficult on Central Avenue, Temple, Main Street. The other thing is, I don't know, somebody said that Route 20 is a state road, so do you have to have someone from the state highway department or something? I don't know how complicated it is, but I did also receive a letter back from Mayor Keith, and he said that there will be something that is starting. The police have already put up a sign kind of outlining the fines and attempting to make some changes, and we really appreciate that.
Right. And we are having a public meeting. Did you receive that information about the public hearing or public meeting that we're having? I
I did receive your press release, which noted the upcoming meeting. I don't know specifically when it is, if you have a date yet.
Right, and I did send you another email, but let me double check because a lot of people didn't receive that second email. So let me make sure that I did send it out.
Yeah, I
But-
received a letter in the mail,
Right.
and I didn't receive an email.
Oh, okay.
So
I did send out an email and I had your name on it, but maybe it didn't go the way I wanted it because I talked to two other people that were on that same email list that didn't receive
Who
them
didn't
either.
receive it?
Right, so I'll resend that because it gives the date, the time, and it's Lisa Smirk,
Yeah, she's,
Miller
hyphenated.
that's kind of an expert in the field. In fact, she just sent me something today from Saratoga Springs where they're doing the same type of thing that we're looking at in Saratoga area. So,
And I do believe that Geneseo is a village that we might want to look at, because that's
Right.
sort of comparable to Fredonia in terms
Mhm.
of demographics, and I know that they've made some significant changes, so.
right,
Certainly, a lot of villages throughout New York State have made changes, so
right.
we're hopeful.
And we would certainly welcome your partaking in this group effort. So thank you
Okay.
very much.
All
We
right,
appreciate
thank
it. Anyone else like to speak to the public portion? Yes, sir. How you doing, Paul?
Paul Luce, James Place, Fredonia. I'd like to address something that's really been troubling me lately. You pick up the newspaper and you see that the Observer's been attacking your building inspector, Mr. Monaco. It seems as though he's only enforcing laws that the state tells him he has to enforce, or village ordinances that you people have come up with. I'm really disappointed in you that none of you seem to stand up for him and tell him, these aren't laws that he's come up with, these are laws that he's been hired to enforce. And it seems as though the only people that may have complaints are those that choose to be slumlords and don't want to have to keep their property up. I don't know, has anyone come to you with a legitimate complaint where they've been misused or abused by Mr. Monaco?
Not me personally. I've been in office for a year now.
Okay.
I've worked very closely with Mr. Monaco. The one thing that I did say to the editor of the newspaper is that the person that should be looked at in publication are the lawmakers, not the enforcer of the laws. And yet we don't have control over what the newspaper prints.
But it just seems like they're making the board look dysfunctional when nobody stands up and says that. I realize you did, but everyone should be sticking up for their employees, whether it's the head of the water department, the street department, or the police department. They work for you people. You should stick up for your employees.
Well, I think you're making a point right now to the Observer as you're talking.
I just hope people get to read it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Luce.
Can you spell your name, please?
Paul Luce, L-U-C-E.
Would anyone else like to address the public portion? Okay, moving on to resolutions.
Be it resolved that Karen Christopherson, 6 Maple Avenue, Jamestown, New York, is hereby appointed to the position of account clerk at an hourly rate of $14.78, effective May 21st, 2012, subject to civil service rules and regulations to include recertification of the current list and subject to a probationary period of 6 months.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
The attached bond resolution authorizing the issuance of $895,000 bonds of Village of Fredonia, Chautauqua County, New York, to pay the cost of the water main sewer improvement project for Holmes, Newton, West Main Street, and it's subject to permissive referendum. I don't have to read this, but put you to sleep, right? But here's the bond resolution if anyone would like to read it.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
The roll
Opposed?
call vote?
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Trustee Subject.
Aye.
Trustee Ruckman.
Aye.
Trustee Siri.
Aye.
Trustee Brown Adam.
Okay.
Trustee Brown Thomas. Okay, I have 5 positive votes and no negatives. It's passed.
The attached bond resolution authorizing the issuance of $120,000 in bonds for the Village of Fredonia, Chautauqua County, New York, to pay the cost of the Fredonia Reservoir Spillway Crossing Project, Phase 1, and is not subject to progressive referendum, and it is here. This is also roll call vote as well.
Okay. Trustee Subject.
Aye.
Trustee Ruckman.
Aye.
Trustee Siri.
Yes.
Trustee Adam Brown.
Yipper.
Trustee Thomas Brown. All in favor? Passed.
Be it resolved that the Board of Trustee approves the mayor's appointment to Ronald Johnson, Temple Street, Fredonia, New York, as acting village justice, ending the village official year, April 23rd, 2013, at his current salary with no benefits. Mr. Johnson has passed the required training course.
Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Be it resolved that upon the recommendation of Jack Schwartz, Director of the Public Fredonia Pomfret Parks and Recreation Department, to reappoint Etta Peedy, Water Street, Fredonia, to a part-time seasonal Russell Joy attendant at $9.25 per hour with no other fringe benefits to be given for the 2012 summer program is hereby approved.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Be it resolved that the Church Street between Day Street, Temple Street be closed for the use of the Fredonia Farmers Market from May 5th, 2012 to October 27th, 2012, during the hours of 8 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Be it resolved that the following banks are hereby designated to the official banks of the Village of Fredonia for the fiscal year beginning June 1, 2012 and ending May 31st, 2013. Manufacturers and Traders Co., Fredonia, New York, Bank of New York, Dunkirk, New York, MBIA, Municipal Investors Service Corporation, J.P. Morgan Chase Incorporated, and Community Bank, N.A., Dunkirk, New York.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's passed.
Be it resolved that the Observer is hereby designated the official newspaper of the Village of Fredonia for the fiscal year beginning June 1, 2012 and ending May 31st, 2013.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Passed.
Be it resolved that the special meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia is be held on April 24th, 2012 at 6 p.m. to discuss the 2012 to 2013 village budget, and be it further resolved that the special meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia be held on April 30th, 2012 at 7:30 p.m. on the adoption of the 2012-2013 village budget, and to consider any other businesses that may come before this board.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Whereas the Village of Fredonia has received a license agreement from National Grid to allow the village to use the old DAV railroad right of way from Glasgow Road to Fredonia Water Filtration Plant, in which will permit, among other things, and harvesting and hauling of the village timber from the village watershed. Now therefore be resolved that the said license agreement is hereby approved by the mayor and is hereby authorized to sign the agreement on behalf of the Village of Fredonia, and payment of $250 to the National Grid to pay for the preparation fee for the license agreement is also approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Be it resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to advertise for sealed bids for the purchase of polycationic polymer potable water coagulant liquid form, polyaluminum chloride coagulant liquid form, and polyarthrophosphate for the fiscal year beginning June 1st, 2012 and ending May 31st, 2013. Said bids shall be returnable on May 16th, 2012 at 10 a.m., at which time the bids will be publicly opened and read aloud in Conference Room 1, Village Hall. Village Board of Trustees reserves the right to reject any and all bids, to accept the bid deemed most advantageous to the Village of Fredonia.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Whereas Volume 6, NYCRR Part 617.5 of the regulations relating to Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law of the New York State requires that as early as possible, and a proposed action, an involved agency shall make a determination whether a given action is subject to a sequer. And whereas all Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia had due notice of said meeting, and that pursuant to Section 94 of the Public Officers Law, said meeting was open to the general public and due and proper notice of the time and place thereof as was given, required by law. And whereas a short environmental assessment form covering applicant project being proposed is local law number 1 of 2012, entitled a local law amending Section 297 to include commercial electronic viable messaging signage in a portion of the C2 district, along with maps and other supporting data which satisfactorily describes the proposal, have been received and reviewed. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, pursuant to Part 617 of NYCRR, hereby determines that the proposed action does not involve any federal agency and is a liaison and is unlisted action. Be it further resolved that the Village Board of Trustees assumes lead agency for the above project, and be it further resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia hereby determines that the proposed action will not have a significant effect on the environment, and that this resolution shall constitute a negative declaration for the purposes of Article 8 of the Environmental Conservation Law of the State of New York. And be it further resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to sign said sequer on behalf of the Village of Fredonia.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
Nay.
Passed.
Whereas a public hearing was duly called and held before this Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia on the 23rd day of April 2012 on the question of the enactment of proposed local law number 1 of 2012 of the Village of Fredonia relative to signs, and more particularly to add a section, add to section 297.12 of the zoning law a definition for sign area, and to add a new section 297-16.8 to the zoning law relating to commercial electronic variable messaging signage. And whereas the Planning Board of the Village of Fredonia has reviewed and approved said proposed local law, and whereas this board has completed a state environmental review of said proposed local law and made a finding of no significant adverse environmental impact, and whereas this local law was referred to the Chautauqua County Planning Board, and said Planning Board was determined by letter dated March 29, 2012, and a letter dated April 17, 2012, that this local law is a matter of local concern and should be of little or no adverse countywide inter-community effects. And whereas notice of this public hearing was given to the town clerks of the town of Pomfret, the town of Dunkirk, the city clerk of the city of Dunkirk, and the regional director of the Department of Transportation, and no objection has been received from said municipalities regarding the proposed local law. Whereas due proof of publication of the notice of said public hearing was presented to this board, and whereas said proposed local law was laid upon the desks of the members of the Board of Trustees in the Village of Fredonia at least 7 calendar days prior to this date, and whereas after due deliberation this board desires to enact said proposed local law. Now, therefore, be it enacted by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia as follows. Do you want me to read this out? Okay. Get ready.
Okay.
Section 1, the local law shall be entitled, a local law amending the zoning law of the Village of Fredonia relative to signage, to add a definition for sign area and to add provisions for commercial electronic variable message signage. Section 2, Section 297.12 of the zoning law of the Village of Fredonia is hereby amended to add the following definition for sign area. Sign area means the surface contained within a single continuous perimeter which encloses an entire sign cabinet but excluding any support of framing structure that does not convey a message. Where signs are of a three-dimensional round or solid shape, the largest cross-section viewed as a flat object shall be used for the purpose of determining the sign area. Double-sided signs shall be considered one sign, and the total sign area shall be calculated from one face. Section 3. Zoning law of the Village of Fredonia is hereby amended to add a new section to be known as Section 297-16.8, Commercial Electronic Variable Message Signage, to read it as follows. A, definitions. commercial electronic variable message signage, hereinafter referred to as as a big long acronym. Signs capable of displaying words, figures, symbols, images, and that can be electronically changed remote or automatic means. NIT, a unit of luminance in the meter kilogram second system of units. Animation, the movement of any light used in conjunction with a sign. Sign area, see section 297-1.2 of the Fredonia zoning law for definition of sign area. Off-premise advertising, advertising for a business, goods, or services not conducted on the premises. B, location of the commercial electronic variable messaging signage shall be permitted only in the following area within C2 district. Those parcels adjoining New York State Route 60 from the intersection of Route 20 northerly to the village border line. Also, the parcel adjacent to Route 20, which is West Main Street, which adjourns the parcel located on the northerly corner of Route 60 and Route 20. Said area within the C2 district is shown on the Chautauqua County tax map for the village of Fredonia as 96.20-16 through 114.05-1-8. C, commercial electronic variable message signage shall comply with the following. Number 1, transition methods. The transition between messages shall not exceed 2 seconds. Message frequency. Each message shall show no less than 10 seconds. Intensity and brightness. All commercial electronic variable message signage shall be equipped with technology that automatically dims the electronic variable message displays according to the ambient light conditions to a luminance of not more than 0.3 foot candles, as measured using a foot candle meter at 100 feet. The nighttime brightness shall not exceed 500. 500. Yeah, that's NIT. All right, 500 NIT, and the daytime brightness level should not exceed 5,000 NIT. 4, animation. Animation is permitted except letter and or text which are scrolling, blinking, flashing, or changing of any light movement are prohibited. Continuously lighted is permissible. Number 5, orientation. The commercial electronic variable message signage may be placed parallel or perpendicular to the street, single or double-sided. Setback. Commercial electronic variable message signage must be at least 10 feet from the street right of way. Height. The maximum height of any commercial electronic variable message signage shall not exceed 25 feet as measured from ground level. Size. The maximum size of any commercial electronic variable message signage shall not exceed 50 square feet per side. Political signage shall not be subject to the same time restrictions as set forth in section 297-16.7 of the Fredonia zoning law. Off-premises advertising is prohibited. Unless a permit is issued by the New York State Department of Transportation, off-premises advertising is not permitted if the advertising is for a not-for-profit organization or a business which is included within the activities of not-for-profit organizations. Section 4, this local law shall take effect immediately upon the filing of the local law with the Secretary of State of New York. Be it further resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to cause notice of the enactment of this local law to be published in the Observer. Be it further resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to file this local law with the Secretary of State of the State of New York in accordance with the law and upon a roll call vote.
Before voting, does anyone have anything they'd like to say? This subject.
First, I would like to thank the zoning board for all the effort they put into crafting the ordinance before us. However, I will not be supporting the resolution, as I think an electronic messaging sign adjacent to the school certainly sends a mixed message to students. On one hand, schools and governments are actively engaged in campaigns to stop texting and driving, yet tonight we are permitting placement of what to me is nothing more than a giant text message across from Fredonia Central School. Not only is the area around the school an extremely congested, high-traffic area with a service road as well as turning lanes, there is also a pedestrian crosswalk in the area. I think electronic signage in any location is a driving distraction, and when across from the school in an area frequented by young drivers increases that risk dramatically. All it takes to cause an accident is a momentary glance away from the road, and that is a risk I do not want to take with our children, and thus I will not be supporting this resolution this evening. I would like to close with a quote from Abby Dart, Executive Director of Scenic Michigan, which is part of a nationwide not-for-profit organization dedicated to preserving the visual character of American communities, who describes the placement of electronic signs as weapons of mass distraction. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Subject. And thank you, Mr. Brown, for outstanding reading. Roll call vote. Trustee Siri.
Yes.
Trustee Brown, the
Yes.
second. Trustee Brown.
Yay.
Trustee Ruckman.
Yes.
Trustee Subject.
Nay.
We have 4 yes votes, 1 no vote. The resolution is passed.
Be it resolved that the changes to the proposed local law number 1 of 2012, deleting the site plan review requirement and the site plan review fee, are determined by this board not to be substantial changes requiring another public hearing.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Be it resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to advertise for sealed bids for metered fuels and water meters for the village's fiscal year beginning June 1st, 2012, and ending May 31, 2013. Said bids shall be returnable May 16, 2012 at 10 a.m., at which time the bids will be publicly open and read aloud in Conference Room 1 of Village Hall. The village board reserves the right to reject any and all bids and to accept the bid deemed most advantageous to the village of Fredonia.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Whereas bids for the Reservoir Spillway Crossing Project Contract Number 1 were publicly open and read on March 28, 2012, and whereas O'Brien and Gear Engineering Incorporated of Syracuse, New York, has reviewed the bids and has recommended awarding the bid to L.W. Parker Enterprises Incorporated of DeWitt, New York. Now therefore it be resolved that L.W. Parker Enterprises Incorporated is hereby awarded the bid for the Reservoir Spillway Crossway Project, contract number 1, a total cost of $97,350, a copy of which is attached to and made part of these minutes, and the mayor is hereby authorized to sign said agreement on behalf of the village of Fredonia.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Be it resolved that the village clerk is hereby authorized to advertise for sealed bids for the purchase of liquid chlorine and ferric chloride for the fiscal year beginning June 1, 2012, and ending May 31, 2013. Said bids shall be returnable on May 16, 2012, at 10 a.m., at which time the bids will be publicly opened and read aloud in Conference Room 1, Village Hall. The Village Board of Trustees reserves the right to reject any and all bids and to accept the bid deemed most advantageous to the village of Fredonia.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Whereas the village has received a letter dated March 26, 2012, from Reverend Wickwire, pastor of Fredonia Presbyterian Church, requesting the village to remove the blacktop driveway located near the Lambert Street Forbes Place playground that was constructed by the village on church property many years ago, and informing the village the church will be responsible for the placement of topsoil over the driveway and future maintenance, and whereas the driveway is no longer needed by the village, now therefore be it resolved that the village street department is hereby authorized to remove the blacktop surface of the driveway, and be it further resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to send a letter to the Reverend Wickwire, thanking the church for allowing the village the use of the driveway over the past years.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, is there anything else the board would like to say at this time?
I just want to thank John for working hard on this zoning project that we had going on, and the zoning board for coming down and working long nights. I know it was a tough task, and there's a lot of information there for them to handle, but did a good job, and I appreciate everybody coming out and giving you input tonight. And hopefully, this will drive us into the next phase of signage and get us ahead a little bit with business. Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes, from Jack Schwartz, our Recreation Director. First annual community playground cleanup, where your local playground, Lambert, Leona, Elm, Gardner, Barker, or Russell Joy, when Saturday, May 5th, 11 a.m. Bring a rake and a pair of gloves. Reason we're doing this to help prepare for the playgrounds for the summer months, and then afterwards meet at Russell Joy Park for a complimentary drink and hot dog. And this is sponsored by the Fredonia Recreation Department, Fredonia Teacher Association, and the Fredonia High School Student Council.
Sweet.
Anything else?
A quick question on that. So we do need people to bring tools
Just a, yeah, rake, we'll provide the garbage bags. We will pick up the garbage bags, but it's just pick up trash, twigs, you know, rake up, whatever, you know. We may have paint that day for the pavilions or for the dugouts, but for the most part.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, good, good.
Yeah, May 5th, 11 a.m.
Also, one last thing, because it is First Fest weekend
No.
this weekend.
No.
As long as we can, everybody that's downtown in that downtown area, if you could do your part and help pick up the day after. 'Cause I know it's usually pretty crazy down there. That would help everybody out. Just help out, do your part, and I think everything should be all right.
This is a good time for Fredonia, but there's always costs for having a good time in Fredonia.
Always. That's it for me.
Okay, well, do I hear a motion then?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Opposed? Okay.